TG Tutorials.
I'm reliable. Hey guys, it's Matt here, and welcome to another episode of TG Tutorials. In this episode, I'm going to teach you how to record PS1 footage using your Elgato. So, first of all, before we begin, let me show you exactly what you need. So the first thing you'll need, obviously, is an original PlayStation 1, and remember to get one with AV cables. If you don't have PS1 AV cables, the AV cables from your PS2 should work as well, but I do not know if the PS3 AV cables, the ones that were originally packed in with early models of the PS3, will work. I can't give you the exact price on this because prices do vary depending on the region you're in. And the second thing you'll need is an Elgato. Now, I would suggest getting one brand new, and look, it's great to get one secondhand. I got mine secondhand, but you got to make sure that when you get one secondhand, it does come with both a micro USB cable, and it also comes with a cable that allows you to use AV cables with your Elgato, because Elgato natively uses HDMI cables. Now, if you can't get one, with the AV cables, you can actually go on Elgato's website and get them from there. I'm pretty sure they're about $5, but I think shipping might increase that a little bit. So you could get it through Elgato's website if you need to. Again, on Elgato's website, I'm pretty sure it's $5. The Elgato itself, when it isn't secondhand, it should be between $100 and $150. So I'm not saying to not get it secondhand if you can, but at the same time, you got to make sure that those packing cables come in unless you have some of those lying around the house. And speaking of the Elgato, we'll also need the software, so go to Elgato's website, you can actually download it from there, and for the purposes of this tutorial, we'll be using Game Capture for Windows. And the last thing you'll need is an HDMI cable. Now I know this one might seem confusing because we're using AV cables with the PlayStation 1, not HDMI, but this will come into play a little bit later. And now that you know what you need, let me show you exactly how to do it. So the first thing we're going to need to do is turn the PS1 around and plug in the AV cables into this AV multi-out port located in the back of your console. Then plug the AV in adapter into the AV in port, which is located right next to the HDMI in port on your Elgato. And now take the PlayStation 1 AV cables and plug them into these three weird ports right here that are coming from the AV cable converter. Then you're going to need to turn your Elgato around so you can actually plug in the HDMI cable into the HDMI out port. And then of course the other side of the HDMI cable will go into whatever monitor you're using. And of course don't forget the micro USB cable, plug that into the Elgato, and the other side of course will go into your PC or laptop. And now that you've installed the program, let's click on this icon right here to start it up. Now that the program's running, your screen should look just like this. Now maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's actually a black screen here instead of your menu or the game that you want to have running. So if that is the case, a few things may have gone wrong. So the first thing is, and this might seem silly, but it has happened to me before, your PlayStation just might not be on. Sounds silly, I know, but it has happened. 2, make sure that all of your cords are plugged in correctly. Now, that is something that you might be thinking, Matt, I've done this 100 times before with my PlayStation 1, but not so much with the PlayStation 1. Look at your Elgato. Maybe you plugged in the AV in, you thought you plugged it in really well, but maybe it's a little bit looser than you thought. Maybe the composite cables are a little bit looser than you thought. Don't push them in too hard, but at the same time, you might not have pushed them in as much as you thought. So that can happen from time to time with the Elgato, so just putting that out there. And another thing that might be an issue is going over to show device settings over here, you might have input device on something else other than other. Yes, this is a Sony product, but this is not the PlayStation 3 or 4, so I would suggest putting it on other, first things first, and then your video input might be on HDMI or component instead of composite. Now, I know that, yes, we are using HDMI out, the HDMI out does go into your monitor, but at the same time, from the PlayStation, we're not using some kind of upscaler or something like that. It is composite cables, so you be wary of that. That might be your issue right there, because once, and if it is, check and make sure those are set, and once they are, your capture should be running just fine. Now, if for some reason it isn't, I would suggest turning off the PlayStation or either turning off the program, restarting it, and maybe the problem will be fixed. Again, it might seem odd, but that has happened to me before. Sometimes your laptop or computer might be a little testy. It does happen from time to time. Any questions, please ask me down below. So, looking at audio input, at this point, it will be on analog audio. Looking at profile, I have it on standard because that's just what this computer can handle. If I had this running on my desktop, it's a bit beefier, so I would actually put it on HD 720 or HD 1080. But from what I've noticed, there really isn't a much of a larger upscaling. It's not as if you're going to have a FrameMeister situation here. It's just to make it look a little bit better. Same thing with quality. You could either have it at good, better, or best. I have it a little bit under better because that's what this computer can handle, but at the same time, if yours can handle best, put it at best, and I would suggest tinkering with that by yourself because I don't know your specs or settings. All computers are different, so I would suggest tinkering with that before trying to record footage or before trying to go live on something like either Twitch or YouTube. So going down here, we have cropping. I just have it at none, and I don't try to have it convert standard definition to 640 by 480, or do I have stretch standard definition input? The reason why is because I can work with all of that in my video editing software of choice, so I would suggest not tinkering with that, and I would suggest editing stuff like that in your video editing software of choice. So we don't just have capture over here, we also have picture as well. This is also something I would suggest not touching at all. Let me just show you what happens with brightness the second we try to mess with it. Let's actually make it really bright. Let's do 40. As you can see, it's actually overlaying the brightness. So this is actually putting the brightness on top of the image. If you want to make it any brighter or any darker or anything like that when it comes to colors, I would suggest doing that all in your video editing software. Whatever you use probably has something that can work with this and make it look a lot better, especially if you think the footage might be a little bit too dark or something like that. Definitely can fix that better than doing this, because this does not look good to me. So I'm actually going to click reset defaults so we can set this thing back to default. So let's go over to audio over here. Again, analog audio gain, you can actually change how loud the recorded footage is. If you're going live, obviously I understand where you're coming from if you want to, change that. But for me personally, if it's about a recording and you're recording it again, you can fix that in your video editing software. Just leave it anywhere you'd like. Profiles, I don't really use profiles. I don't know why people would need to use profiles, but if you need to, well, you have it right there. Also going to advanced, if there is some issue, as it says right here, with the TV fading to black while connected to the Elgato. Never happened to me, but again, everyone's TV is different. So if that does happen to you, I would suggest fixing this right here with TV compatibility. As of right now, I haven't really touched that at all because everything I've connected with the Elgato works just fine. Now, before we scroll down, let's look at a few things we have right here. So we have the obvious big old red record button right there. You click that button, you start recording. You also have the stream button right here. We're not really going over streaming much in this tutorial. This is just about recording footage, but that does exist as well. And of course, commentary matters a lot. So if you're someone who is doing a Let's Play either live on Twitch or YouTube gaming, or you're someone who just wants to kind of streamline everything instead of recording it in post or recording over it or having a camera on you, you're just using a microphone like I am right now, you click the record button and then you would click commentary, trying to make sure that the two are as close to each other as can be, because of course you don't want to edit it too much down in editing. You want to have a file that's a bit too large. So I would suggest, yes, when you click record, also click commentary as well. It does not come up, it's not synced, so you do have to click them both separately. Now you can see over here it says live streaming. I'm logged in on our Twitch, TG Productions. The full link being twitch.tv/TG Productions. But either way, though, we are on Twitch, but we're not talking about Twitch for this episode. Game audio is down to 0 just for this. Just if we had a game running, I didn't want that to that sound to overtake me talking on the microphone. You can do that as well. Definitely manipulate that. See what's best for you and what's best for your needs. And also live commentary. Again, this will also matter if you're recording it either live, but it can also be used when you're recording it naturally, so not in a live setting. And this is on normal microphone, it's not on the microphone Yeti. The reason why is because I'm actually using the Yeti with my OBS software, actually recording this with OBS because I can't record OBS and click record on this at once. That's how bad this laptop is. And let's scroll down just a little bit, and when we do, you can see that there's Elgato sound capture. Now that's much more to do with streaming, so again, not getting really into that in this tutorial. But down here you can see video title. It says tags and video title, and it says migrate capture and game migrate capture and description. The reason why I put that, I leave that way, is because if I'm going to live stream, then yes, of course you would like to change that, especially if you're tied to your Twitch. But But when it comes to actually creating videos, I don't change it because I'd rather have it just set as that and then change it in post, just rename the file later, rather than actually sitting around and each and every time saying, oh, today we're recording Dragon Ball Z Budokai or this or this. I'd rather just fix them later rather than beforehand, because that's a lot of work to do. Also, if you get something mixed up, it can be a lot of work. So personally, I just leave that as is. I've left that as the default since I originally downloaded it a few years ago. Before we go on to the edit tab, I should also mention that we have this option right here, which is disable preview. I guess you could potentially do that if you're a little bit nervous about how your computer can handle the software. So potentially that could make it run a little bit better. Also remember that even doesn't matter if you're recording it or if you're streaming it, don't focus on your computer as your main monitor. Definitely look at the other monitor that the Elgato is hooked up to, and the reason why is because this will be delayed. So all of this footage is delayed. Of course, we don't have gameplay footage on right now, but it would be delayed compared to what's on my monitor that I have this connected to. So definitely don't focus on this. So you could click disable preview. You could also mute the audio itself. Again, there's other ways to do that as well, so I don't really know why you'd want to mute it. Maybe if you're doing other things on the computer, that might be the reason why. And also you have take a screenshot right there. Again, as I've mentioned time and time again, somewhat worthless only compared to the fact that you can do that in not only video editing software, but video playing software nowadays. So if you do want to take a screenshot in the middle, please feel free to do it. The option's of course available, understandably so, but I've never used it myself. And now that we're on the edit tab, as you can see, there's some footage that I recorded a long time ago. I believe this one was for an episode of TG Tutorials. At least one of these was. But either way, you can actually edit this footage and actually share it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, email, Apple TV. Wow, interesting. So either way, you can either share it after editing it or compile it if you'd like into an MP4. I've never used this myself, but if you guys want to use it, definitely do that, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it down in the comment section down below. Alright, so now we're wrapping up this part of the video, and let's jump back to me in front of a shelf. And look at that. It's not that difficult at all. Although I will say, if you do have any questions, please comment down below, talk to me, would love to help you guys out as best as I can. And also want to say, if you liked the video, then please remember to like and subscribe. And if you didn't like the video, you can still like and subscribe either way, that's fine. You can hate watch, that's cool. But either way though, thank you all so much for watching as always. Love you all, take care, and tune in next time for another episode of TG Tutorials. Alright guys, so see ya!